Hi, this is Nick at Mitzi Sullivan's office, here to start episode 2 of our series Common QBO Errors. In episode 1, Zara talked about uncategorized income, uncategorized expenses, and why it is so important to correctly code transactions to the correct expense accounts. If you missed that video, check it out in the comment section below. I'm going to pick up right where she left off, and the first thing I want to talk about is what to do if you accidentally coded a transaction into the wrong expense account, such as uncategorized expenses. And then I also want to talk about the correct way to record transfers in the bank feed. And lastly, I want to show you how to create rules so that you don't have to always go in and add all of your transactions. Instead, QBO can do that for you, and it's pretty cool. So the first thing I want to show you is, what do I do if I accidentally coded something into the wrong account? So let's look here at our bank feed. We have a few transactions here. Books by Bessie, A rental. These are income transactions, and they're currently matched to uncategorized income. Let's say that we accidentally didn't put that in the correct income account. So maybe the correct income account should be, let's see what we have here. Maybe this is really billable expense income, but let's say we accidentally code it to uncategorized income. And same thing with A rental, we accidentally code it there. And then Hicks hardware, we accidentally code this to uncategorized expense, and we need to fix these three transactions. So the way that we fix these, we want to go to our reports. We want to go to our income statement or the profit and loss here. And now we can view all of our expense accounts and our income accounts. So let's first off, let's start by looking at the uncategorized income account, which you can see here. You open this account by clicking on the value. And here we have our income from A1 rental that is showing as uncategorized. Now, the way I fix that, I'm going to click on the amount to pull up the transaction here. And the way I would fix this account is by clicking the drop down and simply changing it. Now, what I would do is, let's say this is the sale of product income. I've changed the account, and I would simply hit save and close. And see, now uncategorized income is empty. Let me change our custom. We have the date range as January through today, June 1st. Let's change this to all dates and hit run report. Now here is the transaction for Books by Bessie. This is showing as July 1st, which is a future transaction, but let's say that we're looking at this in July and we need to also update this. We would want to click on this transaction amount to pull up the transaction. These are two payments that we had recorded, and if this was income related to one of those payments, we could select the check mark, but it's not. As you can see, it's a different amount. This is $55. So we want to just simply click the account drop down, and let's change this to the income account that it needs to be, which is sales of product income, and we'll hit save and close. And now we have all dates selected, and we have no transactions in uncategorized income. So now I can go back to the report summary, and those transactions that we corrected will now show in the other income account that we moved them to. Now, there was an uncategorized expense for $24.38 that we need to fix. So let's go ahead and click on that. And here we have Hicks hardware. So we can click on Hicks hardware or the amount. Anything that you click here is going to pull up that transaction. And we need to change this category. So this, let's say we actually bought something for, let's see what we have. I'll say supplies. This seems like it might be supplies for a job or something. So we change this from uncategorized expense to our supplies account. and we simply click Save and Close. And now when we go back to our report summary, supplies now has $24.38 in it. So this is just so important because it really helps you view where all your spending is going. So now we don't have anything in an uncategorized account. We can see that we've spent $24.38 on supplies. All right, let's go back to the bank feed. The next thing I want to speak quickly about are transfers. So sometimes you may be in your bank feed and you notice that a transaction, instead of saying add or match, it says transfer. Now, sometimes you will see a transfer when I'm transferring money from my checking account to a credit card, or I'm transferring money from my checking account to a savings account. And if I did transfer money from this checking account to one of these other two accounts I have linked in QBO, then I would want to record that as a transfer, because then I would then transfer the funds from this account to, say, the savings account. Now, the problem with that is sometimes someone might transfer funds from their business checking account to their personal account, which isn't in QuickBooks. So if that's the case, you don't want to transfer. The bank text would read as transfer, so QuickBooks will guess that it's a transfer between your accounts, but sometimes it might be a withdrawal. You might you transfer funds from your business account to personal. So instead of recording that as a transfer, it's important to record that as you want to add it, if that makes sense. So instead of transfer, you click this and you would go back to categorize, and you would want to change your category to owner draw, because you're not transferring it to another business account, you're transferring it to a personal account, which is an owner draw. Now, sometimes, let's say that you purchase something from a vendor or from a store and the word transfer was in their name for some reason. QuickBooks would guess by seeing that word transfer that you need to that it's a transfer from one account to another, but let's say that it's not and it was a purchase. You would want to click on this transaction, and instead of record as transfer, if it wasn't a transfer from one account to another, you'd want to go over here to categorize. And then I would want to add this purchase into the correct account. And it's just very important to do that so that you're not accidentally recording transfers that weren't really transfers. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are rules. As Zara has talked about in episode 1, QuickBooks starts to see similar transactions and frequent transactions with the same vendor, and QuickBooks knows where it's been coded to in the past. And so, for example, Chin's Gas. This transaction is being shown as automobile fuel. This is QuickBooks guessing that this is where this transaction will be coded to. And QuickBooks guesses based on the words gas and oil, also based on this transaction coming through the bank feed in the past and being coded to this account. So let's say that we go to Chin's Gas very frequently for equipment fuel, and we want QuickBooks to automatically add any and every transaction that comes through the bank feed at Chin's Gas. We want that to automatically be added to our automobile fuel account. The way we can set that up is by creating a rule. So the way that works is you simply click on the transaction. At the bottom, you hit create a rule, and we're going to tell QuickBooks how to view these transactions moving forward. So the first thing we're going to do is name this rule. We're going to name it Chin Gas. And this rule will apply to transactions that have money coming out of, let's say, the checking account. So if any money comes out of the checking account and all of these conditions are met, so we need let's say we need the bank text to contain a certain value. So I'm actually going to cancel out of this real quickly because I want to look at what the bank feed says. So this is the bank details, Chin's Gas and Oil. I'm going to copy that. let me create my rule now. I'm going to call this Chin's Gas and Oil. So anytime money comes out of our checking account and the bank text contains Chin's Gas and Oil, then we want QuickBooks to assign the transaction as an expense into our automobile fuel category. And we want the vendor to read as Chin's Gas and Oil. And last step is at the bottom. We want that to auto add. We don't even want to have to go and review it and click add ourselves. We want QuickBooks to completely take care of this for us. So when I hit save, and you know what, the rule names, you can't have any special characters, so I'm going to delete the apostrophe. But now I'm going to hit save. And as you can see, that transaction is no longer in the bank feed. And so let's go look at that in our income statement. So we want to go ahead and find that fuel account. Let me pull that up quickly. Automobile fuel right here. And all of these expenses from Chin's Oil and Gas are now showing in that account. So it actually pulled over a handful that were in the bank feed that we had not coded yet. And from now on, anytime that a transaction happens at Chin's Gas and Oil, it will automatically add to this account for us. So I hope that helps. Rules are very handy in making your life a little bit easier for coding transactions. QuickBooks can really do a lot for you. And thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and just keep a lookout for video 3. Thank you.